We're going to have our next speaker here in the person of Dr. James Lindsay, CEO of JL Properties. A bit about him. He's going to talk on the topic, dynamics for survival in the current real estate market. Dr. James Lindsay ranks amongst Ghana's most cherished business leaders, employing hundreds and engineered corporate accomplishments across construction, advertising, security, supplies, consultancy, among others. His passion has paid off, and that is JL Properties, who are now the city's favorite developer. And he himself has found wealth, a well-traveled man who has had stints at high-speed production in London, IBM in UK, JOL Limited, and Netlink Kia Systems. His extensive experience has ensured that he has engaged with wealth that's the dogma and the reality. His portfolio, aside being chairman of JL Holdings, Lindsay is president of Ghana Association of Young Entrepreneurs, contributor for top African managing directors selected for the best practice by the United Nations. He's also a member of the Ghana-UK Chamber of Commerce. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome Dr. James Lindsay. That one also works too. The blue one. You want to?
We are in the afternoon now, so good afternoon to everybody. Before I proceed, I think that I would have to do a bit of correction. I've always told my team they should move "he has found wealth" out of my introduction, because if I'm not careful, the taxman will come chasing me. And then next, the special prosecutor. So Team JL, Victor, Miriam, and the rest, Ato, Amka, and the rest, please, on a lighter note, please take that one out. It's rather, I found the path to wealth through real estate. The path to wealth through real estate. Also, I would have to observe all protocols, including the COVID-19 protocols. So anybody who says that is going to go get an injection in England, is going to get an injection in America and all the rest, you are not worth dying. You cannot do real estate if you are dead. Our vaccine is also good. Observe all the protocols, the distancing and everything. It's so important to me. Otherwise, you would not be here. Today I'm supposed to speak on the dynamics for the survival in the current real estate market in Ghana. I'll be more skewed towards a real estate developer's survival tactics. So bear with me. That is where I could tell you a thing or two. Ghana's real estate market has become one of the interesting areas of investment over the years, and indeed has experienced a significant growth. It records an average annual transaction of about 85,000 according to GIPC, and this could be more because this is 2019 figures. These transactions are estimated to worth about $1.7 billion as of 2019. So, and it could be more. This is compared to our economy. This is huge. And we at JL can also tell you this for a fact. We started with just one house. Along the line, we lost a whopping $1 million United States dollars. But now, we are one of the biggest residential developers in the city. We never give up. And this surely is from a grateful company to Mother Ghana. I pride myself with being able to see a problem with the property a mile away. So if I tell you that I took my company into such a problem, then you should see that the people who created that loss really did a good job in a certain way. Because if you pick 10 people in this city that would be able to tell you the history of a prime property, chances are they would call me. And so for me to be duped on that particular property for $1 million, all because I thought I could make a quick turnaround and get $800,000 profit. So whenever it's too good to be true, it is not true. It's a fact in real estate, and you have to be guided by that. The market presents a huge opportunity to investors, and I'm happy that this event offers one of the greatest platforms for multinational industry players and experts to share their experience to help boost the industry. The dynamics of the market that affects survival. Now, the market is characterized by some general factors which affect one's ability to survive in it. So, come with me as we discuss only a few. Financing, everybody would talk about financing in real estate, and that there's no financing in Ghana, and then Ghana, the interest rates are high, and it's 12%, in the States it's 3%. That is our mantra in Ghana. We always talk about high interest rate and compare to the UK, Europe, or the States. But then also, we also lose sight of the fact that with a high interest rate, it's the same way that there's excessive profit for some developers in this city. You get my point? Because because we don't have a proper pricing regime in this country, people just quote anything. Because again, with the financing, the banks lack the financial muscle to offer long-term loans to developers and mortgages for homeowners. Again, there's sophisticated pre-requirement for bank loans. Example, the back and forth, bring this, bring that. Sometimes they will tell you to go and bring your mother's birth certificate. I can tell you that, so that they can be sure that the woman is your mother. When you are you just want a loan in Ghana, they can also tell you. Now, what is happening now is for developers, they've come up with a certain methodology. They say, do key man insurance. And the banks cannot do key man insurance on the main man, so the top directors. So after taking everything from you, maybe 150% for a loan, they also tell you to do key man insurance on the total amount of loan being advanced to you. So how can you survive in such a market? Also coupled with a high interest rate, as I just mentioned, then also there is a development cost, persistent increase in materials. Recently, cost of materials has gone over the top because of shipment cost and the COVID lockdown and all that, and it's really affecting us. Also, in our part of the world, in Ghana, especially in the whole Ghana, most developers would have to provide access roads themselves, utilities, electricity, water. It has to be done by themselves. So it adds to the cost. When you go to Cote d'Ivoire, where we recently opened an office and we have the presence there, the government will do all these things, and so they plan the area for developers to then develop in, and it assists the developer to bring down the cost of their buildings. We are not doing that here, and it's also an issue. Land governance and administration system is a big issue. Land ownership structure in Ghana is quite problematic. Example, the customary land ownership Then there's inadequate data on family land ownership, boundary dispute among chiefs. This leads to the never-ending land litigation, and the courts are overwhelmed with land cases. You know, there are over close to 100,000 land cases litigation in the courts of Accra. So you can imagine what is happening to developers. Also, the increase in competition in the industry, that is not healthy. If it's healthy, competition is good. But some of the competition that is happening in the industry now is not healthy competition. The market has become competitive due to the unhealthy competition in there. Also, customers' tastes and preferences are more sophisticated than before. You cannot also just develop any kind of space without a better understanding of the niche. This is one of the reasons why there are a lot of vacant spaces and also houses not rented. The person goes to Italy and sees a design. He goes to Spain and see a window design. He goes to India to see a tile design, and then he will mix all up and create a house in Ghana to sell. No, if it's Italian design, you stick to your Italian design. If it is a English design, you stick to it, and then once you mix it, you create a problem for yourself. So how do these factors affect survival in the market? The factors are that affect pricing. Because they affect the cost of development, and the cost of development affects the prices. Because the pricing affects sale. Incomes are relatively low in this part of the world. Hence, the question of housing affordability stands unanswered. The developer is left between these factors versus pricing. So if they tell us, or if we have data which shows that we have a 2 million housing deficit, what informs that 2 million housing deficit? Is it affordability or what? So those are some of the things that we need to look at. We just don't have to stand up and say there's a housing deficit of 2 million and then we just run with that story. What informs that data? So pricing also affects profits. So when a developer is unable to balance between cost of development and pricing, then the chances of survival becomes negligible. So now, how do we survive in this market, this post-COVID market? How do we do that? I always tell people, those who want to come along in the real estate market, the Ghanaian market is huge, is untapped, it's virgin. So it's a decent place to make a good margin. But you have to come to the market or to come to the business with a good strategy, a proper funding strategy. So the first thing that I would tell a player is to exhibit proper financial planning and discipline. So important in the market. Proper financial planning and discipline. If you sell a house, make sure you get a replacement from that property you sold. That is the least you can do. But I would go further to tell you, if you sell a house, get a replacement and get a shell. Or say, to put it simply, to get a carcass there as your profit. That way you can sustain your business. If you sell a house and you use the money that comes in to go to funerals, you are creating the space to fail. And then again, I will tell you this, never ever borrow from the bank to start a real estate business. Borrow from the bank to finish a real estate, to finish a property. Again, never borrow from the bank to start a real estate business if you don't have the muscle. If I should add that. Borrow from the bank to finish a property and sell. Because you see, in this part of the world, the money trickles in. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is 5, and 5 is 5. So before long, the customer would have finished paying you and the building is unfinished because the money trickles in. So never borrow from the bank to start a real estate business. You are creating the space to collapse. It's a fact of life. So at JL, we found our model. We call it the cyclical model. This one finances this finances this, and then the cycle is complete. Excuse me. So we've sold so many houses. We've crossed the thousand mark. That every time we have some amount of money trickling in. We love that because in the absence of mortgages, proper mortgages, easily accessible mortgages, this is the best form. That is why I will tell everybody who wants to invest in the markets, invest in the real estate space, find your financing model. If you don't have a model and your plan is that you can access funds from a bank and start the business and start it in a big way, you are planning to fail. A couple of years ago, a bank was taken over. I would meet the new owners because they wanted to see players and discuss. And say, listen, Dr. Lindsay, I can tell you for a fact, I can tell you this for free. We are going to do close mortgages in 3 days. When I started to give reasons why it can be done, I could see that the people just didn't want to listen. So I held my horses. 2.5 years later, they would call me and say, oh, we should have listened to you. Because it can be done. In the States, in Europe, you can close a mortgage in 3 days. Here you can't because we have several factors that is for another day. So find your model as a potential up-and-coming developer, somebody who has money to invest in the space, a bit of money in the space. Find your model, and I can assure you, if you do that, success would come. Then you have to innovate, and then also know the market conditions. You have to engage experts that can advise you. That's why I was happy today to get Ellen to be talking to us. He gave us a good insight into his inspection business. Engage experts to advise you. Understand your niche. And also bring in some new ways of doing things if you want to survive post-COVID in the real estate business. If you come to JL, you would see that all our estates, all our spaces, common areas, roads, we use stone paved roads. We don't bring in bitumen because it's expensive. We pave our roads with stone. One, it lasts longer. Secondly, it gives you the chance to do the road construction over a period of time. When you want to do bitumen or tarred roads, as we do for government, you need to get a lot more money, prepare the road, do the base sealing, and then when you are sealing with bitumen, you have to come all at once to do it in a day. With cobblestone roads, as is done in Spain and in Italy and all the rest, and then also what we are doing here, you do it in graduation because we believe that it's a step at a time. And in graduation, we get the money bit by bit and bit by bit, and we do the road. So innovate. Look, sometimes it surprises me. This is the part of the world in Ghana that I've seen the least investment in research and development wherever one finds himself. One time, our company visited Turkey, and then we're in Ismail or something like that. Our partners had come, we were excited, they wanted to see us, we went. And then the first day they were introducing us and taking us all around the company. We entered a room like this and we saw close to 15, 30, between 20 to 30 people, young grads, everybody seriously doing something. So I asked Mehmet, what are they doing? So, this is a 66-year-old man, his company says, they are designing the new metal sheets and stuff like that for the real estate industry and construction, because we want to bring costs down, want to get the materials better off. And I was surprised. And then he added, and these are the people I pay so well because I don't want to lose them. I can tell you, here, very few developers would invest in research and development. And even if they do, they are the least paid people. It's opposite. But you see, in the long term, if you do research and development, if you have people doing that for you, you would, look, you bring your costs down because they'll get you new things in the industry, they will bring new innovations, and in doing so, you improve the quality of your building, and then also you get ahead of other people in the industry. Do a proper market study, because data is life. And without data, you cannot progress. People will just sit down and say, my house cost $600,000. Can you imagine? Or this my house costed $1 million. Can you imagine what $1 million can do in the industry? Because you don't have data. The pricing, we don't have any proper pricing methodology in this country when it comes to real estate. Secondary developers have taken over and then are dictating the pace. When I say secondary developers, I mean people who have something else to do and are just churning their profit into real estate development. They are not raw developers. They are not day-by-day developers. And then they can decide to have their property staying there for God knows. Because Accra and Ghana, for that matter, is an interesting place when you talk about development, real estate development. Is one of the few places in the world that for the last 25 years, properties have appreciated all the way. So a person can leave his property for 2 years and still will get a decent margin. So he doesn't care. And therefore, you have to collect data and then don't match the price because A is selling at 600,000. When you are next door, you say, my property is better and so I can sell at 600,000. No. Once you can make a decent margin, sell and move on. Real estate is a numbers game when you are a developer. The more you sell, the more margins you make, the more you are known, because 65-70% of the deals you make are referrals. So the more you sell, the better it is for you. Again, data is important because do you know that Accra has an imaginary line dividing it? I'm sure most people don't know that. From the Insaom Road, the Kwame Nkrumah Circle Road that goes to Insaom, all the way to Jamestown, divides Accra in an imaginary way into two clear parts, East Accra and West Accra. Everything on the east of Accra is minimum 1.5 times expensive than what is on the west of Accra. So if you are managing your money and you have a bit of money, you want to do real estate development, be careful where you start your investment, because then it can be locked up and then that goes your survival plans. That is why you have ASC Mall, although they constructed it years ago, still doing well, whilst the Plush West Hill Mall is struggling. Accra is divided into two clear parts, and it has a history. You know, in the 30s, they had the earthquake that will be ingrained in people's mind, and so everything west is touchy, because in the 30s the earthquake would destroy everything in that part of Accra, and so everybody's apprehensive. That is why if you are in the real estate market, and then you know a bit about properties in Accra, you see that when you go to Makati Hill, you have some of the nicest properties in the city, but you have no buyers for them. Most people are second or third generation residents, passed on by their fathers, and if you put it on the market, you can get a property in East Accra selling, getting a turnover of maybe 3-4 times, a turnaround of 3-4 times, whilst the Makati Hill property is there. It's the mentality that we have about Western Accra. Again, too, Eastern Accra has a lot of adjoining roads and secondary roads that will lead you to the city, whereas in Western Accra, we have the Pambros Road, and if it is gone, several days people cannot come to the city. It's just one line. Years ago, they had the old Winneba Road, which will pass through Colegon all the way to Winneba, but it's all encroached and it's gone. So there's only one single road. So if you have a bit of money and you want to develop do real estate, know where you put it initially, and then build your cash up before you can divert into areas that are not so interesting. It is interesting to note real estate developers now, post-COVID, everybody's chasing government. Stop chasing the government of Ghana. Chase the people of Ghana. The people of Ghana are a sure bet. The government of Ghana would come and go, but the people of Ghana remain the same. Let me explain. I have friends we meet, business friends we meet every now and then, sometimes weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. And some of them are of the opinion, oh, have you seen any investor coming from US or abroad or anywhere and saying, oh, show me where the private businessmen are? All they say is that, show me where the government office is, or the government house is. So it's if you want to make a decent profit, you want to make money, go to government. In real estate, it's different. I can tell you, friends of mine who would engage themselves in affordable housing and stuff like that for government that they've not been paid for years. They're on the brink of collapse. But the people of Ghana, when you invest in them by providing reasonable housing for them at reasonable prices, some of them would default, but ultimately they would pay because it is indexed. Your CD payment is indexed against the dollar, so a bit of fluctuation here and there, we will not lose totally. Again, too, the risk is spread. And interestingly, Ghana is one of the few places that I've been, because I do a lot across the whole West Africa. We are in Sierra Leone, we are in Abidjan. Ghana is one of the only places that I've been that somebody will come to you and say, oh, we'll buy your house. They would want to see a ready-to-move-in house. Pre-sale is not a strong point of the Ghanaian because there is a history to it. Then he says, oh, we want a complete house. Oh, I'll buy your house. They'll go and come back with $50,000 cash. Decent money, I can tell you. And say, oh, I'll come back in 2 weeks. I'll come back in a month. They might not come exactly when they say they will come, but they will come. So invest in the people of Ghana, not the government of Ghana. I mean, because governments come and go. And if you go and then you build 200 affordable homes for the government of Ghana and the government of the day is gone, that is your end. I've seen friends of mine in real estate that have houses taken over by the government and they cannot pay their kids' school fees. Sad. But the people of Ghana, the money trickles in. But 1 + 1 + 1 is 3, and 3 is 3. You manage what trickles in well, and then I can tell you, you would survive. It's purely survival, then progression, and then perfection. So if you can't survive, you can't progress. So we are talking about survival in the real estate market. So first, let us survive post-COVID. And then we can do the progression. We move to perfection and expansion. So in the present setting, look, I have studied a lot of developers. I've studied Donald Ben in the States. I've studied Donald Trump. Used to be somebody I admire in the business sector. I'm not a politician. I don't want to talk about politics. I admire so much the way he moved from his father's business in Brooklyn and came to Manhattan and then excelled. I've studied America's arguably biggest developer, Donald Ben. I love what he's done, and other developers. In America, what I know, a real estate developer brings everybody together. He just sits in an armchair and controls everybody. The financier, the inspector, the advertising person, the marketing person, and all that. And so it's all a margin business. He arranges finance. He brings the architect. That is the American and European real estate developer. Please don't try that in Ghana. Please, because your building will be too expensive. Just take the very important ones. Otherwise, your building will be too expensive and you price yourself out of the market. Try to, as it were, put some of the functions together and then manage it from your end if you want to survive post-COVID. So important. So I would conclude here so that we can get a bit of time for question time, and by saying this, that despite the irregularities of the market, there are a lot of opportunities that are yet to be tapped in Ghana's real estate market. Because there's a huge housing deficit. Well, that is if you talk about the deficit as against the reality, affordability as against availability. That is also a different question or a different topic altogether. But there's still a huge deficit. Then there's massive economic recovery and growth here. I'll be the first to admit that, because, see, when you travel across West Africa, and I like West Africa because I cannot compare myself to the market where the American market is a West African market. One of the back of the envelope methodology to see that there's massive economic recovery and growth is when you land in a city in West Africa, look at the number of cranes in the air, and then you see that there's something going on in that city. Accra has a lot of cranes in the space. You see that there's a lot of construction and real estate going on, because I won't see that. I will see some in Abidjan, but I won't see the same. I won't see that in Monrovia. I won't see that in Freetown. I won't see that in Guinea-Conakry. And so there's a lot of massive economic growth and development going on. And that would dovetail into the fact that government is committed. Also, the financial sector, I would also be one of the people to admit there is an improvement. And now, if you borrow and you don't pay, you would be found out. And so interest rates are coming down. this is not the era when people would borrow and walk away. Now, if you borrow, you don't pay because there's digitalization and everything is going on. If you borrow, you don't pay, you'll be found out. There's improvement in the land administration system. There's lab 1, lab 2, lab 3, and even just this month, searches are being done online, cutting the human face. This is all helping. And then above all, there's national peace and stability. So I would recommend partnership. I cannot also understand why 2 or 3 people cannot be together and do something in Ghana. Everything people want to do it alone, and it is worrying. If our fathers and our fathers before us didn't do it, now there is the paper, there is attorney, there are attorneys, there are lawyers, there are legal people, there are people who know real estate. Go to them, do partnerships, because once you put your strength together, you can make decent margins, and then you can build upon that. You also take the headache, and also you would spread the risk. Collaboration and networking among industry players is important, because it will allow for knowledge, experience, and data sharing. So I will end here by telling you this. I studied under a Reverend Father, 2 Reverend Fathers, one Reverend Father Hugoff and Reverend Father Glasel. They were all SVD fathers in the Catholic Church, and they were Germans. They taught us that in St. Peter's Secondary School, and then also later in St. Augustine's College, that hard work is important and that life is finite. Once I came to the understanding that life is finite and I'll leave this earth one day, I have decided to go out on my feet, not on my knees. These are some of the survival instincts I want to live with people. I want to help. That is aiding me to create a big company so that I go out on my feet. My name is James Ollins Lindsay, and I've loved for real estate.
I believe Mr. Lindsay is ready for questions so that he can provide some pertinent answers to your important questions. So we'll start.
Thank you very much, sir. Honestly, Mr. Lutu, you are just too much. Yes, you are just too much.
Thank you.
And I am really humbled to be here today, honestly. I want to ask this question. Assuming you find somebody who sees you to be hardworking and would want to partner with you, how do you go about it? Sorry. Thank you.
I think one of the very important things that you have to in real estate, there are few things that one needs to do. Put everything on paper. Every single thing on paper. Years ago, we were just doing oral agreements. Put everything on paper. Interestingly, our court system works. Ghana is the few places that you go, and then if you have a problem with a Chinese or you have a problem with a Nigerian, you tell you, let's go to the police station, because he knows he will get justice. And so our system works. So put it on paper. Not everything will work, I would be the first to admit. But again, in real estate, there's a lot of spirituality associated with real estate. If you're a faith believer, you provide. I forgot to tell you about the Akosombo story. Look, in the 60s, we were building this huge dam in Akosombo, and the Italian contractors that it was in Pregilo. They were having a lot of problems because they were unable to divert the water. So somebody pricked them and said, listen, there is something underneath there. So pray. In Pregilo, the contractors were Catholics. They went all the way to Rome, to Milan. And then the cardinal, the archbishop then said, build a church overlooking the dam, and then I'll come and pray. When he came, he said there was a rock underneath there. So you go down and bring the rock. They brought the rock. It was huge. It's there now. When you are entering Akosombo, they divided it into three. One is just before you enter Akosombo. One is in front before you enter Volta Hotel. One is up in front of the church. Interestingly, the archbishop who came down to pray was called Giovanni Battista. Then he was the archbishop of Milan. Later on, he will become Pope John Paul VI. So there's also a lot of spirituality when it comes to real estate. So pray over it. Once your spirit would agree, I can tell you for free, you start a good real estate business and prosper.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lindsay. Yeah. Okay. My question, I have two questions, and I am picking them from your presentation. The first question, with regards to you mentioning affordability versus availability, I want to ask you, do you believe there's a deficit of 1.8 to 2 million houses in Ghana? And the second question, you also mentioned unhealthy competitions. Do you think there's saturation in the development market? Do we have more developers than we need? Thank you.
The answer to your first question, I believe that there is a deficit, but not 2 million deficit. It's just a problem of affordability. And that is where we need to look at. With the coming into being of the use of the Tier 2 and Tier 3 to assist the financial sector so that they can then do more mortgages, lower their threshold, I think that one would improve. Coming to your second question, and anyway, with this affordability versus availability, I am a champion of that. If you check me on YouTube and you check me on the net, you see that I always speak in that direction, and I say, let us, you see, in this market, in the real estate market, honesty pays, and integrity is everything. If you are truthful, if you go with the principle of doing the right thing, I can tell you, wealth will find you. So I would say this, I say it to anybody, whether I would be chastised or not, I will tell you the truth. It is not 2 million. It's a fact. It's just on a problem of affordability. If the person is, say, getting 800 cedis a month, how can he access a one-bedroom apartment? It's not possible, or even a chamber hall as a mortgage. It's not possible. So these are things that we have to look at. Increasing wages before productivity, or productivity before wages is also another topic altogether. And then you talk about, the second question was about, can you remember about competition? No, there are not. There's very few competition in the business. I can see my colleague, the CPL chief executive here. He will tell you in his section, he does a lot of apartments. He has no competition because he is doing the right thing. So if you do the right thing, there's no competition. Just that there are a lot of bad developers, people who don't know the business. They are just using bad materials and giving us a bad name. So do the right thing, engage the right people, and I can tell you that's the surest way to go. Because as I said, 65 to 70% of the people who come to you are referrals and repeat buyers. Why do you want to lose them? By giving them a bad thing. So that's how I look at it. That's the angle I come with. Yes, sir.
Okay. Hello. Thank you very much, Dr. Lindsay. So the question I have is, Ghana real estate development or Ghana new construction properties, do you think we have a vacancy problem? It's very worrying that you see a lot of houses. I haven't been to your development before, but I realize that a lot of developments are vacant. Some of them have built and they're sitting there. At the same time, we're saying that there's a deficit. Can you tell us what the problem is, what the puzzle to this is?
Okay, this morning when I came, I was having a chat with Vicky, and then we were discussing the role of the realtors and everything in this current space. And I'm amazed at what she's done, because normally when we organize these things, we have everybody walking in, but she's tried to bring specialists in, real industry players. This is the way to go. Number two, vacancy, as you determine, houses are overpriced. Before, I don't want it to be about me, so I would like to put my friend and colleague, whom I know very well, on the spot. Before he came in to do the apartments were not selling below $500,000, if I'm right. But he brought it down and said, starting from this and this, and then everybody started chasing him. He said, how can you build at this cost? He says, listen, because there is no proper pricing regime in this country about real estate. I lived with my auntie when I was a young man, when I was very young, when I was in uni and I was secondary school in London, in Wandsworth, 62 Swarfield Road. And now, if you Google 62 Swarfield Road, SW183AE, it's been sold long ago, you will get the price. Now, if you Google now, for sentimental reasons, I tried to raise money to buy it, and I couldn't because it was 1 point something million UK pounds. And I was like, wow. Because I know those times my auntie bought it for 175,000 pounds. But now, because I didn't go near it because I just saw the price. I knew it was not in my range. I walked away. Google my home, number 1 Lindsay Close, and see. There's no price. So when you call me, I will say, oh, it's $4 million. I'll just say something. So if those things are not in place, and if people like you, Vicky, if you don't stay and then help in that direction, we are builders. I build for fun. I love to build. I look at everything building, how I can change the space. My specialty is in regeneration. I take disused sites and do it well, but I don't know prices. Because that is also for someone to do. So other players should come in. My specialty, I'm trying my best to do what is right. JL, we changed the whole Achimota dam site, disused quarry site into arguably the nicest enclave, cleanest in the city, made up of 5 phases, over 400 homes, stone paved road and everything. I'm telling you the truth. You can come and visit. So, but I cannot involve myself in regulation of prices. That is for somebody else. So other people should come in. So I'm happy that you have come in and then you are doing what you are doing. The next thing is to then get an institute, a pricing institute or something like that, and then we'll take it from there.
Dr. Lindsay,
Yes, sir.
I have 3 questions, if I'm allowed.
Okay, please go ahead.
One is a macro issue. It's a macro problem.
Yeah.
I've been away from this country for a bit, about 30 years, and I'm coming back, and I'm realizing that a lot of economic transactions are pitched in dollars, and the average Ghanaian does not earn equivalent dollar income. How is this affecting real estate markets, home ownership, when the citizens who work 24 reasonable hours are not earning equivalent dollar income? How is this being addressed to make sure that when we talk about affordability, that the average Ghanaian is earning equivalents of his or her talent at the workplace in dollars so that they can afford what the pricing have been put? That's my first question.
Okay. I think it's a very, very, very interesting and cagey question. The fact is that the cedi is not 100% convertible. If I say that selling and buying price of the cedi is different, so there is a gap of about, say, 8% or so in there. Whereas the pound is 100% convertible. If you go to the UK and you are holding dollars, the rate on the board, whether you are buying or selling, is the same. The person giving the money to you will charge a commission. In Ghana, when you go and buy a dollar, it's 6.1 something. When you go and change a dollar, it's 5.9 something. There's a gap there, 1. 2, incomes are not going up as fast as the cedi is depreciating. So every time there's a lag. There's a lag behind in income. Inflation rate and then the rate of increase in salaries, they don't match. So that's a second issue. The third thing is developers would pitch it against the US dollar because it fluctuates little compared to the cedi. And the Ghanaian buyer is an interesting person. You tell him it's 1 million cedis, or say 500,000 Ghana cedis for his property. He wants to go and come back in 2 years and still see the 500. If you say, oh, you've changed it, you walk away. But if it is $100,000, it comes back in 1.5 years and it's 100,000, he will buy. Meanwhile, so we developers, we cushion ourselves by pegging it against the cedi equivalent of the dollar. That is all. It is not a healthy thing. It's a problem. It creates issues for people. But it's the only way that we can do to save our business from collapsing.
How are we? See, one of my quests of GREPA, Ghana Real Estate Professional Association, it being a civil society, working on behalf of the market and also working on behalf of citizens. And it's my hope that GREPA will grow in its consistency to engage government. Because what we are talking about is not just economic luxury. It's about human rights. It's about the right for everyone to be able to own a home. And if our economy is in that bad shape, how are we engaging government to come up with the right policies? How are we engaging government to ensure that we have the economic policy that are really meeting not American economy, but Ghanaian economy? And if our real estate business is not being transacted in Ghanaian economy, but American economy, there's neocolonialism going on here.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I share with you. But again, to I think that again, charity should start beginning at home. Look, you don't have a decent place to lay your head. You are renting a place, but then every week you buy a new cloth and go to a funeral, and this is true. Every week you go and do a funeral donation. Every week the church service, when they are doing harvest, you are at the front seat. Why don't we also encourage ourselves? Because once you are supposed, the house might be your biggest investment ever. Normally it is 90% of the time, but you are spending on, for the want of a better word, unnecessary stuff, whilst you don't have a place to sleep. And it is not just a few people. Almost every person. Look at your closet. Most people use 10% of what they have in their closet. But when somebody is come through the website, you still will buy a new shoes, a new pair of shoes, a new watch and stuff like that. Why don't you see? So it's a cultural thing and it's a societal thing, and I think that is something that we need to drum into our heads, and then see. Even in Ghana, homes are not being traded enough to create that kind of money in the system. You don't have to. Many times, my team and myself, people will come and say, "Oh, I want a 5-bedroom." We'll tell you, we'll sit you down. It's not about the money. We say, how many people are in your household? Your need. You don't need a 5-bedroom house. You need a 2-bedroom, you need a 3-bedroom. We are among the few people who trade in. We say, stay in a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. When you climb up the ladder, okay, we take your building, we buy it back, we give you. We need to encourage ourselves, because the real estate market is huge. It's very, very, very big, and it's interesting. Many people have made good living, decent living out of it at other places. Why not us? Somebody buys a house and stays in for 30 years. No, it shouldn't be. Most times you buy a house, you move on, and then you move on, you trade in and you move on. There's equity and you move on. Nobody even understands equity in Ghana. There's a problem. So it's all a societal problem, it's a cultural problem, but we are getting the new crop of people. There are people who come to us, the team is here, they say, listen, JL, we want a place in your new development, take our house back. So slowly, it was not achieved in a day elsewhere, so I think that gradually, we cannot change it. We are behind, but not that behind. If you go across West Africa, you will see that we are somewhere. We compare ourselves to Europe and America, and so we are harsh on ourselves. But when you do the West Africa, we say monkeys play by sizes. So let us play by our size and improve. When you go to Freetown, you weep. 30 years behind us. Even my own Abidjan, where I love so much, once we started there, I appreciate Ghana very much. I appreciate our real estate industry. We have nice enclaves. We have nice places you go around Accra and you are shocked when compared to Abidjan. So let us be.
My last question.
Shocked. Yes, please.
One of our agendas, GREPA, and I believe most of the audience here heard Maurice talked about formalizing the industry. And one of the conversations we had was on the importance of a multiple listing system. I don't know whether you're familiar with that system. And yeah. I wanted to see how you would address it in regards to pricing, valuing properties, and the history, the records of how we price properties, homes, etc. in the system based upon the economics of the community, etc.
So I will give you a short answer. We don't have any pricing system in Ghana. We don't. That is why a property next to each other in East Legon with the same built-up space or even a little different will have a $200,000 difference when materials used are the same. We don't have. And that is one of the things that is killing us here. So it is a space that needs to be watched carefully. You get my point? Because now when you go around Accra, there are well-organized realtors having clear-cut offices, having clear-cut mandates, booking houses. I think that's the way it will start. But now it's a very weak industry. And unless the professionals that you GREPA is in GREPA and what you've started now, you don't have to leave it hanging. I'm a developer, a real estate developer, and so my interest is more how my houses are sold and how I can build my houses. So you are you are selling the properties. You are doing, having the experts who would give the nod for the properties to be sold. And so once you are organized well, people will rather come to you. I was so excited when I listened to the inspector and what he had to say. And so with all these things being formalized, I think then what will follow would be the pricing system. The next thing. Yes, Mr. Inspector.
Just to add to what Dr. Mills said, I think he's trying to refer to the where you mentioned that your address in the UK, you can still find 5-10 years data.
Okay.
We have introduced a multiple listing service. It's about 2-3 years old in Ghana.
Oh, okay.
And so we are asking that the developers should also bring it. We've had a few developers post the properties on the website or on the portal. Okay. It's a database system. It's not an online service like other people do. We keep the data for even more than 10 years. Okay. And you can go in and actually pull properties that have been closed, prices and all that. The intention is to be able to keep data, just like you're saying, was the same way you have in the UK.
Okay.
And so if it's a collaborative effort from all of us. If one person says, I'm not putting my properties in there because I have a sales department within my organization so I can sell by myself, then the effort that we're all trying to get to is not going to work. So we're asking that the developers also join this multiple. Let's put the properties in there so that we can build the data that we're looking for. So we do have it, and I think if Chairman is here,
that's good.
Emmanuel is aware of that.
That's the first time I'm hearing. Yeah.
Where's Chairman? Yes. So it's called Loop Ghana MLS. It's powered by Exposure, which is the back office. Okay. That's where we input all the data, and then it comes into the front, the consumer facing, which is the Loop Ghana MLS. And we do have a lot of properties that have been listed in there. It also syndicates to Realtor.com, and Realtor.com is now global. It goes to so many countries. So we have properties from Ghana feeding to Realtor.com International.
Victor, take note of that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Natasha Howe with the Quia Property Management Group, and I'm from the States, actually California, and I'm also a housing commissioner for my city. And so on a day-to-day basis, we interact with developers. They come to us and they want to develop, and we have a requirement called an in lieu fee. And what the in lieu fee is that the developer is required to build If they're asking to build 250 units, for example, I don't know where in San Diego, they have to build at least 30% of that has to be affordable housing. Now, if they choose not to build that 30% of affordable housing, they have to pay what's called an in lieu fee. And the in lieu fee is broken down by the square footage, and we have that dollar amount of, let's say, $12 on that square footage. So in Ghana, you spoke earlier about the housing affordability deficit and most people being renters here and not being able to afford to purchase a house. Instead of having government, if they choose to move forward with that program in the States, why don't the developers put that something together so that way you guys look like a superhero?
I think
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
very, very good suggestion.
Yes.
Because one is to have a certain portion for even the society's sake and all that. So we'll take note of that, and then we'll go to Greta with it, and then have a discussion. Thank you.
Hi, Doctor. Good afternoon. My name is Gloria. Please, on not having proper pricing regimes and bad developers, I have 3 simple questions. To be acknowledged as a developer, do you get registered?
Yes, we have. We have Greta, and that one you choose to. It's a voluntary organization. Greta is a voluntary organization. You choose to join or not to join.
Oh, okay. And do you have any other laws governing developers in Ghana?
Well, there's a building code, but I'll be the first to admit that most people are not building according to the building code. That's a fact. And so that is where the challenge starts from. That's why when the inspector was giving his talk, I was very quiet, because if people would follow simple rules in the building code, we will not have a lot of the problems we are having. So yes, we have a building code, but like many other things in this country, we have the best laws, we have the best of everything. It's the implementation that is our problem.
Okay, so how come Greta is not seeking to enforce some kind of pricing system for developers, and especially those in rentals? For instance, an area like East Legon or Spintex, people just quote figures because the next person is given a higher quote. So I think there should be something. There should be some kind of enforcement on developers and house owners for them to be on the same path when it comes to cost and prices.
It's a challenge. I'm telling you, it's a challenge. See, even not taking 1 year rent advance is an issue that we've not been able to solve. How can you take 2 years rent advance from somebody? Where is he going to get the rent advance when his salary has not come in? You know, look at such a situation. Try as the government is doing. Nobody seems to be able to enforce that, because if you say you are enforcing it, somebody would pass by you and then go and do the very thing that we are saying should not be done. So I think that when more houses are provided for rental, for instance, we have many more on the market for rental, the price will drop. Then people will now start to collect lesser amount of months, but because of scarcity at very prime areas, that is what is causing this.
Please, my last question. I learned that your time is up. How do you identify bad developers? Because it affects the buyer, and it affects pricing, and it affects the faith we have in developers in this country.
Yes, it's a fact. It's a fact, but I was also pleased that the inspectors' talk and submission showed a lot of defects that ordinarily a very good developer would not make. So that alone would tell you if a developer is bad or not. Hanging cables here and there. So I think that the inspection issue should be looked at well, so that we are really going to adopt that thing is a good takeaway that I'm taking from this conference. Our properties would have an inspection done and put on top, and then we'll take it from there. And you might think that it's going to cost you extra, but I'm telling you, if a buyer who is a serious buyer comes and you say, listen, don't worry, this is my inspection note on top of my document, take it and then read through. 9 out of 10 will make an impression on that buyer. So it's a good takeaway, and we're going to do that. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Lindsay, thank you very much. But before you leave the stage, I just got a text message from a friend wanting to find out something. She has a plot of land but doesn't have the money to build. What would be her options?
Well, this is the collaboration I talk about. Enter into a JV, do the maths, depending on the area. In real estate, it's location, location, location. So the better your location is, the better your percentage that you get. Is the best way. Don't let the land lie down fallow. It won't bring you money. Monetize the land by entering into a joint venture, and then your guess is as good as mine.
Thank you very much. That's very educative. Thank you so much for your time, Doctor. In fact, I'm learning a lot today. From Monday till now, I have learned a lot. Let's give it up for him. And our sponsors. Before our next speaker joins us on the stage, let me please acknowledge our sponsors. GREPA is one. Logistics Movers. Ministry of Works and Housing. Ghana Investment Promotion Center. State Housing Corporation. National Association of Realtors. Abri Properties. Leading real estate companies of the world. Loop Ghana MLS. Keys to Sankofa, Empower Africa, My ABC Live, Mervyn Hotels and Resorts, Muladi, Real Estate Times, Aquia, CIPS, Cone, Fruto, FNB, JL Properties, and Stanbic Bank. Let's give them a round of applause for sponsoring this very, very important event.